Hi, this is Corella, and I'm making this video because there's going to be times when I'm not going to have enough time in order to teach a particular section, maybe part of a chapter, and in this case the introduction. So I'm teaching here I'm going to teach, or we're going to look at, better yet said, we're going to look at the introduction for the book. And I'm showing you the book, right? You should have this book already, right? Or you're going to buy the book for the developmentally appropriate curriculum. And what we're going to look at today is the introduction. Now, it's going to probably be done in maybe 2 or 3 videos. I want to keep the videos short, almost in mouse-sized form, so that you can, when you can bite, take it, get the information, learn it, right? Assimilate it, I should say, and eventually learn it. Now, let me tell you how I did this first. The first thing I did was, when I was looking at the book, I went to the end of the chapter and I got the key words. The first key word is Division for Early Childhood of the Council for Exceptional Children. Because in early childhood, you have a lot of different organizations, and those organizations have acronyms or initials. Now, the acronym for this, because it does become a word, is DEC, D-E-C, Division for Early Childhood. Now, you also have, and that's on page 10. So if you want to look at to see what DEC is, the Division for Early Childhood of Council for Exceptional Children, you can look on page 10. Then on page 3, that's where you're going to get the definition of early childhood education. What does it mean to be an early childhood educator, right? Which is different from when does early childhood begin. One is from birth to 8 years old. But normally speaking, when you're talking about early childhood education, you're normally talking about from 3 to 8. Some of the most important years in a child's life, if not the most important years of a child's life. Then you have individuals with disabilities education. That's on page 6. On page 6 also, you have the definition of least restrictive environment. And we're talking about least restrictive environment. We're talking about children with disabilities. And those children having the right to be mainstreamed, to be put in classrooms with children who have different abilities and maybe even needs, because all children have different abilities. So that's when you're talking about the diverse classroom. You're not just talking about diversity as far as race is concerned. You're not just talking about diversity as far as ethnicity or as far as religion. You're talking about it on all different levels. And you have the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And that, when you see NAEYC, by the way, it's on page 10, that's what you're talking about. You're going to see DEC, Division for Early Childhood of the Council for Exceptional Children, and the National Association for Education of Young Children, NAEYC, a lot throughout this book. So it's good that you begin to understand, or that you learn what these associations stand for. Okay, so what we're basically talking about here in the introductory chapter is, here's the big question. How and why is it important that an early childhood educator understand his or her role? You're not a babysitter. And it's extremely important that you understand that your goal is not just to keep the child entertained. Now, the way that I want to do this is that I want to go page by page, and let me show you how I have the page. That's part 1. We're not there yet. The introduction, because the introduction is very important. This is the introduction, and I hope you can see this on camera. And I'm going to come up close. You can see that I write in it and I underline. And so what I'm going to do is talk about those parts, show you those parts that I underline, talk about that. For example, let me give you an example. For example, on page 2 in the introduction, right, I'm in the first paragraph. So I want you to go down, and we're going down more or less to the middle of the paragraph, and it says the following. And here the big question is, why is it important to be an early childhood teacher, an educator? Knowing that you make a difference to children and families is one of the best things about being an early childhood professional. Another benefit is knowing that you are helping children at the start of life, a time of amazing potential and tremendous opportunity, right? So this is telling you why is your role important and how important your role is. Then I'm going down, okay, I'm still on the same page, and it says a good beginning is essential. A good beginning is essential. And I like this quote here. It says, you know that the beginning is the most important part of any work, especially in the case of a young and tender thing. And that's by Plato. During the early years, children develop the attitude towards education and themselves as learners that will stay with them all their lives. As children move through the early childhood period to middle childhood, they reach one of the following conclusions, and you are decisive in the conclusion that they reach. They either think the following. They think, 1, school is exciting and challenging and fun, and I'm a good learner. Or they reach the following conclusion: school is boring and it's difficult and extremely painful and embarrassing, and I can't learn. We, as early childhood educators, have a pivotal role, play a pivotal role in how a child decides whether school is exciting and challenging and innovative and creative, and I can learn a lot of things that's going to help me when I grow up and I'm 15, 16 years old, you know, because kids think when someone's 15, 16 years old, they're grown up. Or I can teach that child that that child will never learn. That child will never go anywhere. That school is for smart people, and he or she isn't smart. We decide that. Like I said, I'm going to keep this short. So I'm on page 2. I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue on page 2. And we're going to continue looking at developmentally appropriate curriculum. Okay? And this might help you to learn, help you to assimilate better all this information that's extremely important, because early childhood educators or early childhood professionals are just that. They are professionals. Okay, so I shall return.